So today, as part of our academic angst theme, I wanted to take a look at the 1978 film, The Initiation of Sarah. I know this does qualify as more of a Carrie type ripoff because there is some telekinesis involved, but there's also witchcraft. So I'm going to be going off of that angle to go along with this month's theme. This was also another ABC movie of the week, and it has a very decent cast. You have Morgan Fairchild. We also have Shelley Winters, Kay Lentz, and Brittany Morgan. Ironically, Kay Lentz later meets up with Carrie cast member William Katz. They play alongside each other in the 1986 film House. So this film may not have as much emotional depth as Carrie. There is some teasing, bullying, but it doesn't have the impact or the trauma that Carrie herself suffered. And it really doesn't suffer. There's a lot of character interaction. There are some backstories, character development. It's also implied that Mrs. Hunter, the house mother of the PED sorority, also known as Pigs, Elephants, and Dogs, it's implied that she was Sarah Goodwin's biological mother. Obviously, Sarah was adopted by the Goodwins, and her sister Patricia is not really her sister. And in the film, she's not really treated as an actual family member, more like a charity case. The mother encourages her daughter to enter the sorority, even though there's a very big chance her sister will not be accepted. And at the sorority rush party, it is pretty much led very early on that the sorority is only interested with money and looks, so nothing else really matters to them, which I guess is pretty typical or stereotypical as you would think of that type of an organization or those types of girls. The fact that Erica Hunter also dabbles in witchcraft herself, she also states that she knew Sarah's father, so I am led to believe that they did know each other, that she actually is the biological mother. It is implied. There are a few coincidences, but it's pretty much open to interpretation. Morgan Fairchild plays Jennifer Lawrence, the jerk girl in the film, and she pretty much does the role very well. It doesn't really require much depth. It's very easy to pull off, and she pretty much just goes out of her way to torment the poor girl. Even while her sister's going through the hazing period, she's forced to tell her sister that she cannot associate with pigs, elephants, and dogs, which happens to be the rival sorority that her sister entered. So you've got the stuck-up rich and then you've got the intellectuals on another end. And honestly, I think the PED house is a lot more interesting. It's this very gothic, very old-looking sorority. So who would want to be in some updated place when you can actually be somewhere that actually looks like it has a bit of history to it? Tisa Farrow plays Mouse, or Alberta, a friend of Sarah, and she's also just very withdrawn. She uses music as a coping mechanism, and it's also implied that she's also been institutionalized for suicide attempts. Tisa Farrow is, of course, Mia Farrow's sister, and she's probably best known for her role in Zombie or Antropophagus, so she definitely has a bit of a background to her. Although the role really doesn't require much, I think she carries it very well. So the whole reason for the rivalry between Pi Epsilon Delta as well as Alpha Nu Sigma, it's implied that a relative or family member of Jennifer Lawrence passed away during an initiation ritual in that house. We do find during the initiation period that Alberta, or Mouse, is going to be sacrificed. So obviously it's an occult sorority. The sorority is run by Shelley Winters' character, once again Mrs. Erica Hunter, and she latches on very early to Sarah. She realizes she has these supernatural abilities, that she does possess telekinesis, and she wants to harness these powers in order to get even with the rival house. In one of the scenes, we do see Patricia Goodwin and Jennifer Lawrence locked into a shower. They're pretty much being scalded. This is initiated by Sarah. Obviously, it's Mrs. Hunter urging her to get even with her for causing her to pass an embarrassment. And this is a very similar scene to Carrie itself. Sarah had been led out of the house with the lie that she was going to be taken to a party for her love interest, a surprise party, and she's pretty much pelted with mud and raw vegetables rather than having pig's blood thrown on her. So she's obviously very angry and she's willing to get even. What she doesn't know is that her sister happens to be talking to the girl at the time. It's very difficult to, I guess, ascertain who's around at the moment, but once again, she doesn't know. She just releases them last minute, and we do have a bit of a continuity error because in one scene, Jennifer Lawrence's hair is soaking wet. She had been showering at the time, and then when they do manage to break out of the shower stall, her hair is completely dry. So I did think that was a bit funny, but once again, TV movie, who really cares? As I've said before, the acting's really good. The film is treated very seriously, so yeah, I would say it's definitely worth having a look at. In our ending sequence, Mrs. Hunter does decide that she does want to eventually become more of a traditional sorority, so they do decide to do the initiation period as well as the whole Hell Week. So this would be the first time in forever that they've actually done this, since they've pretty much become a very lax sorority. They don't even have the full number of girls required. They pretty much just take whoever's interested. So they are in the process of doing the ritual. They are going to sacrifice Mouse, and Sarah realizes what's going to happen. Before this, she actually does get a fairly decent payback with Jennifer Lawrence. I'm not going to ruin that scene. It's not necessarily gory, but I'd say for the satisfaction issue on its own, just the fact that, the pretty stuck-up girl is definitely getting her just desserts. I would definitely leave that for you to see and watch for yourself, but she does realize what is going on as well, the fact that one of her good friends is going to be sacrificed. So she does start a fire. The majority of the girls do manage to get out and save themselves. To my knowledge, this film is still available on VHS. I'm not too sure if it was released onto DVD, and for a time it was streamable on Netflix. I haven't checked in a while, so I don't know if it's still available. There was also a remake of The Initiation of Sarah, aired in 2006. This was aired on ABC Family, which was part of their 13 Nights of Halloween special, and I think it's a very interesting choice, the fact that, although it's tame, the fact that ABC Family would touch the film. It's definitely a lot more teenage friendly. In this version, we do have Jennifer Tilly playing the house mother, Mrs. Hunter. Although her playing of the role isn't as cheesy or hammy as Shelley Winters, it is still pretty much Velveeta as far as the acting choice on that is, but she doesn't revel in it the way Shelley Winters does. This version also features both Goodwin sisters as biological sisters rather than one being an adopted sister. The mother doesn't really seem to care for one daughter more than the other. They seem to be a little more equal, although we later discover that Lindsay has been charged with taking care of Sarah over the years. The reason for this being is that Sarah supposedly has had a few suicide attempts. She's played as more of an outcast type character rather than the wilting wallflower, so she's definitely a lot more assertive. She will tell people what's what. She definitely isn't as big a pushover as Kay Lentz's character. In this version, we also see both sororities fighting over both girls rather than accepting one girl and turning the other down. So we do have Alpha Nu, Sigma, as well as Pi Epsilon Delta that really want Sarah's membership. And the reason for this is that both sororities are actually occult in nature. There's actually this whole battle between good and evil going on behind the scenes, and supposedly Sarah was the chosen one. So she's the one who can either strengthen one sorority or help the other sorority in the battle against good. So the real catch here is actually the fact that Alpha Nu isn't necessarily the good sorority. They're actually the evil ones, which makes sense because in the original they were the stuck-up jerks, and they really don't want Sarah's membership. It's actually the fact that she's meant to be a sacrifice in order to, I guess, keep the eternal flame burning. And the reason for this is if these witch girls don't keep it burning, they will pretty much be sucked back into hell. And obviously they enjoy living on Earth, so why not sacrifice for the greater good? So Miss Eugenia Hunter also does teach an anthropology class, although in this version the subject is a little bit different. And I guess you can say it's more a simplified version title of the class used in the original film. She teaches European mysticism, whereas Shelley Winters' character taught anthropology and belief systems of primitive culture. So more or less the same. We still realize that these are very occult women, maybe partially spiritual, although one is just pretty much just bats in the belfry insane, and the other one's just kind of a kooky character. When questioned by Sarah why they were chosen for the sorority, Eugenia Hunter states that she knew their mother And obviously the girl doubts it. She wonders how maybe some frumpy, weirdo, outcast type woman could know, a powerful woman like their mother. And we later discover that initially, years ago, they had assumed that the mother was the supposed quote unquote chosen one, and they discover that she was actually pregnant. So one of the twins was actually the chosen one. So we can figure out what happens to biological mom, and in steps Morgan Fairchild, who obviously was the jerk girl from the first movie. She is now playing Trina Goodwin, the woman who has been raising these girls as her own daughters all this time, and pretty much just grooming them in order to enter that sorority. So I would say there's definitely a lot of changes in the remake. I would say the twist, which is probably predictable, that does come up towards the end, does strengthen the story. It doesn't really hurt it. It really doesn't use too much cheesy special effects, and I would say it's diverse enough to where it could pretty much just be considered more of a reboot rather than a remake. I don't really want to say that I preferred one version over the other because they were so different. Obviously, the 1978 version is more of a slow build, whereas the 2006 you have to appeal to younger audiences, especially because this did air on ABC Family. So we do have to keep somewhat of a quicker pace, but we also have to have that teen appeal going on as well. Ironically, in the film, the thing that makes me laugh the most is because it's implied that pretty much anybody on campus who's a virgin is thrown into the eternal flame to keep it burning while they wait for the chosen one to come along. And Sarah obviously decides to sleep with her love interest in order to keep them both alive. I pretty much don't have to spell that one out for you. But towards the end of the film, they seem to have gone on a chase to hunt down the Alpha Nu Sigma members. So I don't know, for some reason this film kind of gives me the impression that the whole meaning is to be promiscuous and drop out of school, which not really something that you should be airing on ABC Family, I guess, but I guess they didn't think about that one too much. So that is pretty much all I have today. I will talk to you guys later.